Yes guys, it's Jando. Today I'm going to be breaking down one of the projects I've been working on recently and show you how I've made this Simula style jump up track. So yeah, let's get straight into it. I'll show you the track that we're going to be working with today.
This is music to be murdered by.
Yeah, that's the track, and let's jump straight into how I've made it. So starting off with drums. The drums in this track are pretty basic, but there's a few like key elements to take into what I'm doing with the drums here, and keeping them basic is one of them. A lot of these drums that you hear in these kind of grotty jump up tracks are very basic drum patterns, but it's the sample selection that's so important with these tracks. It's kind of deep, punchy drums, and then good variation, like a nice variation going along the track with them. Nothing too crazy variation wise. I'm just talking about some extra hats here and there, ride cymbals, just little things like that to spice the track up slightly. But the main thing that I went for with this track, with the drums, was kind of deep, punchy, kind of jump up style drums. So we've got our kicks here, then our snares, little hats in between. We've got these ride cymbals, which I've taken down. I took some of the transients down on these ride cymbals and then bounced them out. And then we've got these kind of white noise rides in the background. And just nice texture to the drums generally. And then I've also got this like skippy hi-hat, kind of shuffle here, just to add variation. So when it breaks after these 4 bars here, 8 bars, sorry, has nice variation. But yeah, the thing that I've done with these drums, keeping them deep and punchy, but yeah, nothing too much really goes into them. Yeah, super sick drums. The samples are really nice. I can't remember what sample pack these drums are out of, but yeah, super sick samples. And yeah, that's another really key thing when it comes to making drum and bass tracks in general, is sample selection is super key. But when it comes to drums, or if you're using basses or effects, everything basically, sample selection is so key. Nice, good quality samples is the best. So finding those samples can be difficult, but that's why it's important to go through like suppliers and labels and artists that you know have good sound design, can process their drums and everything really nicely. So yeah, super easy drums to make, but like I said, key thing with these drums, keep them really simple and dark, kind of thumpy, hard hitting drums. Next we're going to look at basses. Now for these basses, as you can probably tell, they're going to be kind of grotty basses, a lot of like speak bass kind of stuff, which is what a lot of the stuff Simula is making at the moment. So these are the basses that we're looking at. So obviously I covered the basses, that speak bass, in one of my tutorials already, and one of the frog basses. So I'll just open up these patches so you can have a quick look at them, and just copy them down. But like I said, there's another tutorial on these basses already. But yeah, when it comes to basses, again, it's kind of grotty basses, these like weird speak basses and these womps, like gritty womps. Nothing too crazy goes into them. one thing I will say is filters like PHS 48 plus, reverb filter, and the combs filter are really good for making basses like this. You can proper, like, messing around with the res and the cutoff, you can really twist up some basses using those kind of filters. And yeah, these are the settings that I'm using, PHS 48 plus on both sides. Another thing I like to do with my basses is on the main filter in the oscillator tab is using combs filter on this, or reverb filter, and then in the FX tab using PHS 48 plus, messing around with that res and cutoff like I said before, and can make some really, really sick basses. But yeah, for this, it's kind of come down to the structure of how I've structured the basses. It's nothing too technical, really basic pattern. But yeah, the style of basses with a basic pattern is what's kind of this ongoing trend at the moment with the Simula style sounds. It's nothing super complex like these Belgian jump up tunes. Nothing crazy going on with the structure like that, but just deep, hard hitting basses. And the same with the sub basses, getting these subs really like low end, grotty. And then I've also layered this sub with this white noise, fill out some of that gaps, add some like kind of texture harmonics to the drum, to the basses, sorry. Yeah, like deep, grotty basses, and then as we transition through the track, we get some more variation within the track. So, well, within the basses. Yeah, more variation, stuff like that. Obviously, variation is very, very important when it comes to making music. Otherwise, your tracks get boring, sound very samey. So yeah, that's what I've done with my basses. Nothing crazy going on, and like I said, I've covered the patches in another video, so I'm not going to dive into them. Next, we're going to look at some of the FX and the vocal sample selection. So when it comes to the vocal samples in these kind of tracks, again, the vocal samples are really dark and eerie kind of samples. They've got that vibe to it, a lot of tension in them. It's really easy to go onto websites like Splice, or look through like popular sample packs and find vocal samples, but the problem with that is a lot of the time somebody's going to find this exact same vocalist sample as you and probably use it as well, and then that's when it takes that element of you away from the track. So it's vocal samples can be difficult sometimes, but the one thing that I recommend is searching through YouTube, looking through movies, TV series, all of that, and looking for those really nice, cool samples that you've not heard before, and it's going to be a lot harder for people to find. So this one is Alfred Hitchcock Presents Music to be Murdered by Side 1. Again, it's just this random sample that I found on YouTube.
This is music to be murdered by.
And with this, I've just pitched it down using this plugin here. Find it. Little Alter Boy.
This is music to be murdered by.
And just pitching it down just to add that kind of tension effect to the track. Yeah, super sick sample. But yeah, look on places like YouTube. Don't always resort to Splice. You're gonna probably end up using samples that somebody's already used already, or somebody's gonna use a sample that you've used, and yeah, it's annoying. But yeah, check YouTube, movies, series, all of that kind of stuff. But yeah, vocals like this, horror style vocals, really good. And then along with that, I have kind of contradicted myself a little bit and gone on to Splice. But for these kind of samples, using like scream effects, and then I've got this sample here as well. And then kind of doubled it up throughout, like chopped it up and messed around with it. Just to add those cool like effects in the little in the gaps within the track. Again, adding tension, keeping that kind of like horror style to the track. Because it's meant to be like a dark, like Simula style track. It's meant to be dark and eerie. So yeah, keeping on that subject, we're going to include some like dark kind of FX stabs and vocal samples and stuff. We've also got this little sample here. little kind of Foley effects, which I've reverbed out quite a lot. Yeah, it's adding quite a lot of that kind of horror aspect to the track more. But yeah, so moving on from that, we've got a little bit of like some of these cymbal rises just for the transitions, nothing major going on there. And then we've got these kind of like Atmos, like stabby bits, or sweeps maybe, if you want to call them that, between the transitions. So we're transitioning here in the track. So I've got this little sweep.
This is music to be murdered.
And then we've also got some other little kind of this is like a little respace effect. And another little dark sweep. So stuff like that, again, keeping to that kind of whole subject or genre of like horror, keeping it really, really dark. And that's what's giving the whole track that tension and that dark vibe to it. If you take away all of these effects that I've put in, obviously the track's a lot emptier, but it's a lot more bland. It's not giving that tension, it's not giving that vibe to the track. So for this track, the sample selection for the FX was really, really important. Moving on to the intro now. So the intro, nothing crazy going on with it. I've really just filled it up with a lot of kind of dark, atmospheric effects, drones, that kind of thing. So I'll let you listen to some of the intro here. Also with the drums here, I've created a separate channel for my hat and then added quite a lot of a reverb to it and a bit of delay as well, just to keep to that dark vibe. But yeah, this is what I've got going on with the samples in the intro.
This is music to be murdered by.
Yeah, a lot of dark samples going on. We've got these, like, I'll start from the top here. So we've got this cool little siren effect. Again, don't really need to say too much about this that I haven't said already. It's kind of dark, atmospheric stuff. This screen that I've got in the drop, I've included in the intro as well. Obviously, a lot more spaced out, really heavy on the reverb with that one. And then we've got these FX claps, which I use in a lot of tracks. Adds really good kind of that background atmospheric, sitting in the back, filling out the mix a bit more. Same here, but this one's a lot quieter, more. I've also pitched this one down a little bit as well. This is just like, again, sits in the back of the mix, fills it out quite a lot. Then we've got this here, which is again like an atmospheric kind of drone. Same with this. Kind of metallic-y effect to it. But it keeps to that really dark kind of horror vibe. Got this little respace one again. And more of that sweep. And then this one as well. Little downer. But yeah, it really keeps to that dark intro, that dark vibe, building a lot of tension within the intro, which is really good. It's good to make sure that your intros are nice and full and you're doing your intros properly and not just kind of doing rush job on your intros. Thing is, if a DJ wants to start your track, like start their set with one of your tracks, you want to make sure it's got a nice intro on it. Otherwise they're not starting off a set with your track or anything like that, because you've got a dead intro. So make sure you try and put a decent amount of effort into your intros. Something else that I've got going on with the intro, so when we get after this first 8 bars, we're kind of transitioning into more of the build-up. Now this track doesn't really have a build-up, it's more of like a drop-off, which tends to be done with a lot of kind of darker jump-up tracks. Rollers as well gets done a lot, but yeah, it has more of a drop-off and then slaps into a drop. So yeah, in this kind of build-up section, let's say, we've got the sub and the sub fuzz, again, adding more tension. And then it goes into the vocal there. So yeah, I mean, these tracks not too much goes into this track. You might look at this and think there's a lot going on, but after I've broken it down, I hope to think that you feel like you're got a better understanding that there's not loads going into these tracks, and it's not too much to get your head round. These tracks don't take forever to make, but yeah, they're not simple. Obviously, nothing simple about music production or anything like that. But it's kind of like just a creativity thing. Get super creative with your tracks, and it becomes a lot easier. And that's why I feel like me making a track like this was quite easy to do. But yeah, that's going to be it for the video. I'm going to break down another track in a couple of videos time, I think, or maybe tomorrow. Going to be more of like a kind of a serum jump up track, which will be a bit more interesting. But yeah, nice one.